Hey everybody, let's talk about what we're gonna do today, besties. You should look at your feedback if you haven't already, and please take it into consideration because um, if you're not doing something that is a requirement of the assignment, we all know that the rubric will not be forgiving to that choice. Okay. So the things that you're going to do today are, do you need any additional feedback on your outline to support your IO performance? Make sure you shoot me an email today, or you can assign a Google comment to me and I can give you that feedback. Okay. Do you need a quiet space to practice your IO? Mean, you're probably not at the point of practicing in a quiet space yet, but what you could do is sit with another student, have that student use their phone to time you and make sure that you get to 5 minutes. Nothing over 5 minutes will be graded. But if you go too far under 5 minutes, like if you're in the I don't know, 3.5 minute range, you're leaving a lot of analysis unsaid, and that will reflect on the rubric as well, okay? Kind of like if you were writing an essay and it ended up being too short. Um, so it's an absolute must to do well in speaking your individual oral presentation to use signposting. So we're going to talk about that today and made sure that the um summative assignment where you're going to record is open in Schoology, but you do need to make sure that you get it in before 8 a.m. because the assignment will lock at 8 a.m. tomorrow, Wednesday, November 13th. Also, your Hamlet notes are due tomorrow. You can just pop those in the inbox for me and I'll pick them up on Thursday. All right, so let's look at the importance of signposting. So, signposting is a way for you to give clues to the listener, like you would give clues to someone reading a paper of what's happening. Okay. It is very common for for an IO to start like this. Today, I'd like to discuss the field of inquiry of politics, power, and justice, or whatever your field of inquiry is. Specifically, I'd like to discuss the global issue of, and then you say your global issue. This is why you have your outline in front of you. The first text I will explore today is Hamlet by William Shakespeare. You're only exploring one text today, so that's all you're going to say. Because you're not doing two texts, you won't be synthesizing the text that way, the two texts, so you won't need to get into the overall, the two texts work together to communicate the idea that blah, 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 blah. And that's just rehashing your global issue. So you're talking about one text today. You're going to introduce the one text, you're going to introduce the global issue, the field of inquiry, and then you're going to transition into part one. Part one is zoom in, okay? So looking at the extract from Hamlet, in Act 1, Scene 3, which is famously known to be the to be or not to be speech, in lines 137 to 162, we can clearly see that, and then you would insert your argument here, okay? This is where you're going to introduce your literary features that you're talking about. Talk to us and explain what this literary feature is doing in this part of the text. And most importantly, tell us how you see the global issue based on the way this literary feature is being used. Okay. So you're going to spend about 2 minutes here, right? Because you've got at least two literary features to talk about. You're going to spend 30 seconds-ish on your introduction where you state your field of inquiry and the author and the global issue. 2 minutes here on the zoom in part where you transition to the first part of the IO. And these are just sentence starters, guys. These are not things that need to be memorized, but these are ways that you can introduce the thing that you're going to do, the zoom in, for example, and that's going to tell the listener, aha, I know where I am in this IO right now. I know what this student is doing. I'm going to listen for that connection to the global issue. And then when you get to the next part, the locating the extract within the work as a whole, that's a different way of saying the zoom out, okay? When you're talking about the global issue in the work as a whole, that's just another way of using the language that I've been using with you, which is anywhere in the play that's not the extract where you also see the global issue. So you're going to do the same thing, okay? You're going to introduce the literary features in the other part of the play. Remember, I said you need to give us some context so we know. So prior to this passage occurs. This extract is a pivotal moment in the text as readers learn da 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 da. All of those things are ways that you can show us that we can tell from listening to you where this is happening in the text because you've given us context, okay? For your extract, you'll probably give us, the exact moment, like act one, scene, whatever. But for the rest of yours, for the work as a whole, you probably won't have that in front of you, okay? Because you probably haven't put it on your extract. Maybe you did. But you need to give us enough information about like, okay, when Claudius and Polonius are having the conversation about who they're gonna use to lure into the main area so they can spy on Hamlet and they decide Ophelia. I know what part of the play you're talking about, even though you haven't indicated what line, what act, what scene, none of that stuff, okay? Okay, there's some other good info in here about like introducing a textual reference. Textual reference, literary feature, they're the same thing. In line X, we see the phrase, insert your text evidence here, used to do this thing. Okay? In this phrase, Shakespeare utilizes metaphor to show the reader, and then you'll explain how he's using that thing to show us the global issue. Okay? The text features are just an avenue for getting to show us your global issue, basically. Okay? Okay. Some of these things I'm skipping because I don't want you to pay too much attention and get confused because you're not doing two texts in this recording. You're only doing one half of the IO. Here's another one that has some great ways to connect back to the global issue. So if you're like, I don't know how I go from metaphor to global issue, these are some great sentence starters to get you thinking about um, how to transition into that. So let's say you've been talking about this metaphor, you're talking about what it's doing in the text, and you're ready to transition to the global issue. This connects to my global issue because, and then you explain, okay? These are just sentence starters that work like signposts. Think of it when you're driving and you have signs on the road and they tell you what to do. This is just telling you how to say the thing so that we know what you're saying. And as an examiner, I can hear what you're doing and score you appropriately. You're leaving me little signs on the road so I can follow the path that you're creating with your argument. Okay, some sentence starters for moving to the next point, and then also transitioning to the conclusion. Okay. So in the conclusion, the global issue of blah, blah, blah is evident in my extract, and then you explain how. In the end, it is evident that my global issue is prevalent in my extract as well as the play as a whole because whatever. Okay. So the best ones that for you to look at, because we're going to use this again in another month when we start the big IO, okay, are the introduction, the transitioning to part one, the looking at the work as a whole, introducing a textual reference. We'll talk about exploring author-reader relationship, but it's not something we're focusing right now. Connecting back to the global issue, moving to the next point, and then moving to the conclusion, okay? 5 minutes total, 30-second intro, 30-second conclusion, and 2 minutes on the extract and 2 minutes on the work as a whole. Okay, I think you're going to do great. Make sure you practice and talk this out with someone in class today. Practice using these signposts. And you need to know if you're running 3 minutes or 7 minutes. You need to know if you need to cut some of the things out that you're going to say because it's too long, or if you need way more to say and way more analysis because 3 minutes is too short. Okay? All right. Good luck. Email me if you have any questions. Thanks.